And Faith was really good at doing that. Okay? You have to understand what Faith looks like. She's about 6'3". Okay, she's descended from probably Russian aristocracy. Okay, because the families from Finland, they kind of crossed over during one of those, revolutions they had up there. And she is very imposing. Okay, she actually looks rather male, but she's female. Okay, so she's really presence. Very big presence, and very smart and very articulate. Always has the best words. So she really inflamed them. So that was part of the issue. What else? Yeah.
So you don't want to jeopardize your relationship with the people who want to implement the electronic system.
Right. So we've got somebody who has a lot of hold over us, don't we? And the person who is the head of the panel is really an obnoxious guy. He was a PhD and he loved having all this control of these MPs. He just had, he was just tough from the day-go. Yeah.
Can't think of the term. When a bunch of people start acting in a certain way, then other people follow in a way they otherwise wouldn't.
Right. It's like a mob. It's
You think it's groupthink? No, here's how riots start and
Clash of personalities in a way.
there is a clash of personality.
Not always.
Yeah.
yeah, tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
But so we had one organization holding power over another organization. Right? This is not individuals holding power, it's really one organization holding the accreditation power over the people who had to be accredited. Right? Everybody's angry. What are the feelings and emotions? They were so angry, they had put so much work into this. The RRC didn't care. They didn't care that these poor program directors were spending all of these hours doing this and that it wasn't very good and what good was this altogether. Anyway, they were angry. And they got more angry because they were, being incited, right?
I found it.
But
Herd mentality or mob mentality.
right, great. Herd mentality. And that's what happens in protests, right? When they get violent, is the herd mentality. They don't start out that way, and somebody incites it and goes on. Okay, so who is responsible for resolving this issue? It was me, the president. They were threatening to destroy the organization. What are the risks?
You don't get accredited.
What?
You don't get accreditation.
They don't get the accreditation, right? They decide that all of us will.
But then, if there were two groups, aren't everybody on this group supposed to be on the same page? Isn't there supposed to be like a rehearsal? We all agree on this issue and we're going on as a group and this is what we're going to present. So it's either there was a coup, and she was trying to stage a coup against
the RC. That's right. Yeah, so it was like she was trying to do a coup, or just say, we're not going to have an organization anymore, right? So the risk was a coup. That was the risk to the RRC. But they didn't feel that. And the risk to the organization was everybody's going to be so angry, they're just going to walk away and say, we don't need this organization anymore. If you, the organization leaders, can't protect us from this accreditation problem, then why should we have this organization? What outcome did I want?
The organization to stay in the meantime.
Organization stay.
You didn't want the electronic.
I didn't want the electronic. The question is, was that going to be my choice? Was I going to have that choice? No. Why?
It's essential, like it's something.
The digital age was coming, right? Right? I mean, you could see, you didn't have to be a visionary to know that the digital age was coming, so ultimately we were going to have this. Right? So what were my strategies, or what could the strategies be to intervene? Okay, we closed the meeting, it was the afternoon. Everybody went out drinking, I think. I didn't. Okay? What did I do? Or what could you do? You have angry members You have angry RRC, you have angry accreditation people, everybody's angry, right? Everybody's angry. I'm in the middle. My vice president didn't do the right thing, which was to stop what was going on so it didn't get out of hand. It got out of hand, right? So I was angry at him.
Counter coup.
What?
Counter coup.
I'm sorry.
The counter coup, like you call the person who said it to go in to order and see where we go from there.
Okay, so how did I do that? How could you do that?
Leadership skills.
What?
Leadership skills.
Leadership skills.
I think maybe taking over.
So taking command, okay, taking a little bit of command. So command here is important, right? Okay,
Because you need to contain a situation, first of all, before taking action.
so you gotta contain the situation. So who would I talk to first? Yeah, get him on the phone. I was in this beautiful suite in New Orleans and he wasn't there. I'm not sure I had, I don't even think I had a handheld phone at that time.
No,
1993. Probably cost me money to call him.
Michael, why would you
Michael.
have her call me?
Support.
Yeah.
Support
Bounce ideas up.
and bounce ideas, both.
Confident,
Right.
confidant,
Whose bias is what? What's my bias?
You
She's
want
your
that
wife.
interest.
Yeah, to help her,
Yeah.
to help her. I'm not invested in this, right? So having somebody to talk to and go through it can be valuable.
Right. Who is not biased?
Yeah,
Right, yeah, what's he said? Who doesn't have a, what do they call it? A whole, cat in the race or something?
Skin in the
Skin-
game, skin in the game.
There was no skin in the game, is what we would say in America. Right, no skin in the game. Best management, so that's a good thing. Find some, it's a lifeline, right? In one of these, games they play on TV, call for a lifeline, right? Somebody who can be very objective. I probably didn't call him. What else did I do?
go back to the park, go back to the hotel and drink.
What? Go to the hotel and drink. Yes. So what I did is I called in the members of the panel to my hotel room. So when you're the president, you get the free room. It's very nice. Okay, when you're alone, it doesn't matter. But, you do have space to actually have a meeting. So I called these members, just the people who were on the panel from the RRC, and I called them together in my hotel room. I don't know whether I gave them wine or alcohol to drink or not to calm them down. But I said, we gotta talk, because tomorrow we need to talk to the organization. Okay? And so I had a very direct meeting with them and said, look, I understand that the digital age is coming, but you have to understand that what you've just done was really a burden for all these people. And if you want the organization to cooperate, you have to compromise. So after a long meeting, we got some compromise out of them, and the next day, I stood up in front of the entire organization and talked them down, okay, and through a resolution and some compromise. More time, more beta testing, alternative methods of doing this until the digital form was useful, those kind of things.
So what if you had a meeting with them before to the main meeting? Don't you think it would have helped?
So that might help, they surprised me by the way, the person who was the head of the panel surprised me by how negative and nasty he was as he related to the organization. I expected him to be much more professional in his presentation, and he wasn't, and so he didn't help. So that's, yes. That would have been to find out what they were going to say and maybe moderate them before. That would be a good idea. Yeah.
But I'm assuming it was not that smooth because there was a resistance to begin with. So when you came out and said what you had to say, there was definitely some shouting out that this is not what's going to happen or something like that. The one who came out and spoke and
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And remember, the RRC had been getting letters, from people and phone calls from people that were angry. So this guy came to the meeting angry, but your ideas were sitting with him before. before to see what would happen. Yeah.
Okay, so you're the leader of an organization, and the meeting that you're running has gone out of control. What do you do? That's really what Barbara's talking about, right?
Take a break.
Now,
Well, everybody can take a deep breath.
let's go back to her Myers-Briggs. How is she going to feel about a meeting going out of control? How does she feel about control? How important is control to her?
Very important.
Very important, yeah, it's very important, yeah.
Right? So for some people, they wouldn't be bothered as much. They're going to say, okay, this is the way it goes, whatever. It's not my fault.
Democrats, right? The democratic personality would not find it.
Yeah, right. But for her, this was particularly upsetting, right? Because of her underlying personality, control is a big deal for her, right? And so she sensed this, I think, quite vividly, and that just made it worse.
I mean, I don't know how many of you have been the leader of an organization where you stand before a lot of people, and, you have a fair amount of responsibility for what goes on. And so I don't like to be out of control up there. And you can sense if you're sitting in a big group like that, who's in control and who's not in control. Right?
There's one more thing I'd like to emphasize that, excuse me, just for a second as you're doing this. Notice, this is organizational politics, right? This is the way organizations operate. You probably have, many of you have experienced this already, you certainly will in your careers, where things are going wrong, and how do you resolve them? And Barbara said this, but I'm just going to emphasize it. She said that ultimately there were compromises made. Right? That's how things get resolved. Okay? And compromise is the essence of politics, whether it's national or international politics or organizational politics. Some people can compromise more easily than others. Okay? So somebody with Barbara's personality is less likely to want to compromise because she has traditional, hard-felt beliefs. But she overcame that stubbornness because she knew what she needed to do was establish compromise. Okay? So it's a model of leadership in that even though her natural tendency would probably be to be very strict one way or another, she understood she needed to compromise and she brought compromise about.
And that's where having a glass of wine and taking a break, right, really helps. Right? Because you have to sit back and, I'm an ST day, right? I'm a thinker. So you need to actually think about what the options are. And then, as Mike said, it's a good thing to go talk to somebody else who doesn't have, so much in the game to actually act as I call a backboard. It's kind of like hitting a tennis ball. Let me ask you about this one. Let me ask you about that one and see what you think. And let it come back. And good statesmen have advisors who they do this with. Okay? Now, is there a difference between compromise and negotiation? Right? So this is very, in the U.S. news, and here too, in Netanyahu, okay, and in some of your other countries, okay, Trump talks about being the great negotiator.
I think negotiation I would want to get the best results, but in compromise, I know there's something that I have to give up.
Right. That's exactly right. Okay, so compromise is all about having each side give something up versus negotiation, which is, if you give me this, then I'll give you that because you want A and I want B. Okay, it's a little different. It looks like the same, but it's not quite. And what they've said about, at least the U.S. Congress, is they've forgotten how to compromise. Democrats have forgotten how to compromise with Republicans. Okay, because that's really what you do in government. Or else on both ends of the spectrum, if you're far right or far left, you got to compromise to get to someplace else. Okay, ready for the next one? I'm big the American Board of College of Physicians. It's the largest group of physicians in the United States outside of the American Medical Association. So it's all of the internists. So there are 100,000 plus members. And I was on the regents, which meant I was on the governing board. But just like in dentistry, in medicine in other countries, as you get to finish your degree, you have to have some certification that you can do your skill. And sometimes you have to be recertified. Okay, you have to every so many years. I don't know if physical therapists have to do this or occupational therapists have to do this. You have to demonstrate your skills again. It's becoming more and more common throughout the world. So recertification is something that the American Board of Internal Medicine, which is not the board I was on, is the accrediting body accrediting all those 100,000 interns. And they usually do it by giving an exam. And how much does that exam cost, do you think? $1,500, $1,000, right? It's expensive, right? How much money does the ABIM make from, let's say, a third of those people, or maybe 20% of those people every year taking that exam?
Millions.
A lot of money. That's right, yeah. And the academic question is, does it actually lead to better doctors? Right? Well, they decided back in the late 1900s, this is about 2000, this is right as we went into the next century, that they were going to make every internist re-accredit every 10 years, and they were going to set the pathway to that re-accreditation. And ABIM was going to get all the money for it. And the American College of Physicians, which represented all of these people, got a lot of negative input from their membership saying, what are you doing? And why are you letting them do this? So the membership became very angry. And yours truly, because I am quiet, not assuming, and an introvert, okay, got placed on a committee that they referred to as Herbie and the 3 Bs. Because one man's name was Herbie, or Herbert, and the other 3 names began with B. It was Barbara, and Bernie. Okay, so it was Herbie and the 3 Bs. And we led the revolt, okay, for the ACP against the ABIM. All right? So the issue here is internists did not want to spend $1,000 or $1,500 every 10 years, and a lot of time being told how they had to keep updated and how they were going to prove it. Yes.
Isn't it also the specialists have to maintain?
Right. And ABIM.
So it's
Yeah,
not,
no,
it's not a big issue for internists, as much so as someone that might be super specialized and then, but they have to do it.
So yes, so that was the beginning of the compromise. So if you were a super specialist in cardiology, an electrophysiologist, okay, then you would have to not only take your electrophysiology boards again, but you'd have to take your cardiology boards again, and then you'd have to take your internal medicine boards again. Then you're talking over $5-6 grand, okay, and needing to answer questions about things you never ever take care of. So an electrophysiologist is never going to treat a patient with HIV for his or her HIV. Okay,
More than that.
what?
More so than that, it's a problem. The time they're going to waste studying about virology is time they're not reading the literature of electrocardiology.
Right. Let alone the internist internist who has decided never to see a adolescent and doesn't really care about adolescent drinking problems, right? Because they won't see anybody under the age of 21. So there's a lot of issues here.
Failure in medicine is endless. It's, and when you want to have an exam, this exam is going to be in the things that you do, the things that you don't. And
Right.
maybe 70% of the things are things that you don't deal with. So, yeah, it's really hard.
That's exactly right. So people were getting very angry.
Is there such a test now for specialists?
Oh, yes.
Really? Wow.
So, for everybody in every field, including family medicine, every single field.
So plus on the other hand, like, I think these people have, they have patients to deal with. That's another thing, and they have families to deal with, and your brain is no longer functioning like 10 years back. It's no longer as strong as it used to be, so I mean, it's quite tedious to be able to do these things.
That's right. That's right. And so, Herbie and the 3Bs started doing some looking around and finding out that before the American Board of Obstetrics and Gynecology got chopped into a different method from the ABIM, they were recertifying by asking every OBGYN to read a subset of 40 articles every year and answer a few questions on the articles they chose from the 40 that were the things that they needed to learn about depending on the kinds of patients they saw. And they had something like 90% of all obstetrics and gynecologists actually voluntarily did this, which is wonderful, right? That's what it should be. But the ABIM was very insistent. So what happened?
What do you think was their true motive? Was it to keep doctors more on top of things, or was it to try to take money out of the wallet of ACGME who accredit CMEs?
So they would tell you that it was to make doctors better and updated because there was some data that showed that the older a physician got, the less they remembered about some things.
So it's more logical to make a test on being updated. It's different than having a test for the basic medicine knowledge. So this is more logical to me.
Right. On the other hand, how is that test delivered? Now there are other parts to it. You had to show what your patients thought of you, and you had to do some quality improvement studies, and that takes time and money in your practice. Not just the test, but how are they testing these physicians now?
Computer metrics.
Right. So they put a physician in front of a computer and they did a computerized test. And what do we know about the ability to judge how well a physician or another professional does on everyday work by giving them a computerized multiple choice test?
It's not that valid.
It's not very valid.
I think a friend of mine used to say that standardized test is a very good indicator of how good you are at taking standardized tests.
That's correct. Yeah. That's exactly true. Okay, and we know wonderful people in the profession who are not good standardized test takers. And we know a lot of people in the professions where they're great at taking standardized tests, and you wouldn't want them to treat anybody. Right? And back in that same time period, the Institute of Medicine, which is a big group in the United States, like the National Academy of Sciences, came out with a report that said, you know how many mistakes you're making? Don't ask somebody to practice from memory. And what are you asking a professional to do when they take multiple choice tests on a computer? You're asking them to practice from memory. And at that point, I don't walk in to an exam room to see a patient with, something in my pocket that I can immediately get information from, right? Because the digital age is now here. So
The Palm Pilot changed everything.
right, so why should I take an exam on a computerized test out of the top of my head? I shouldn't even make my students do that, right? So I was not happy with it. So what happened? So let's go back. What are the hidden issues? They were making a lot of money, and EBIM did not want to share that money with ACP, who had been the educators. They were now going to write all the educational programs. That's probably what got us the mask. Okay? So that was one of the hidden issues. What were the feelings and emotions? The people who were told they had to do this were not happy. They were angry. Who was the responsibility for resolving the issues? In this case, it was the organization leadership. So not a person, but the organization leadership. What were the risks? Well, the risk was losing all the ACP, but internists tend to be passive, okay, not as active as others. What outcome does the responsible person want? They just want it all to go away, okay? So the board of the ACP just wanted it to be quieted down. And so when Herbie and the 3Bs got up and said, don't do this, don't let ABIM get away with this, we're going to have problems. A, they're going to make a lot of money. B, our organization is really angry about this. Don't do it. They did a Democratic vote, and what do you think happened?
Abstain.
Still abstaining. What happened? Passive internists. They all got too scared and walked and voted to go along with the ABIM. So I lost. I lost a lot of credibility because I wasn't Herbie and the 3Bs. And I was doing a lot of politicking and a lot of discussing things. Because I was supporting, what was my job on that governing board? My job on that governing board was to support the membership. Those are the people who talk to me. And so I voted with the membership. And if you think about my ISTJ, okay, that's who I supported. But I lost. I probably lost the ability to become the president of the organization and stuff.
I think also, but like the people, the membership too, must have instead of consequences of them saying no to taking the test, and I mean a lot of them are black hole, so I mean it's also a good thing that they said yes.
Why do you think it was a good thing that they said yes?
Because like the certain organizations you can't go against.
Okay. Can you go against other organizations? That's really good. That's a really good point to bring up because what has happened in 15 years? Do you know? Do you know what's happening now in the United States about this? Because now every board, every specialty has gone to this.
I'm thinking about the numbers. How did they respond? I'm thinking.
Oh, some of them some of them, like I said, is how can I go against the organization? And because the organization, the ABIM sent to the membership of ACP, okay, and this is where the bullying comes in a little bit. The ABIM said, you know, if you don't get recertified, your hospital's not going to let you admit your patients. The insurance companies won't pay you. All of these things, your patients won't want to come to you if you're not, recertified. All of which didn't happen.
Two quick questions. Did the specialty boards get involved with you?
Yeah.
Your back?
They caved. The specialty boards caved.
Why?
Because they were fearful of, they'll lose this accreditation, they'll lose the ability in the hospital, and it all tried. So what's happened now, 18 years later? Finally, the people have said, we're not doing this again. This is way too expensive. They've started their own organization, and the accreditations boards like ABIM have had to back off. Okay? So the people are finally winning. I lost my status, okay? Because I went for it, but I lost, okay, in that political battle. But now the people are saying, enough. They are going against it.
I think at the end of the day, you have to learn how to pick your battles in life generally. I mean, you wouldn't pick a battle, you wouldn't fight, so you don't know how to fight. So I mean, you have to be strategic, and I think you have to be strategic in picking up your battles.
And you have to decide when you have to pick your